Okay, just a quick update of what I've done so far today. Just stayed for a couple of hours today and played about a bit. Put the water bridge on. This is the affair that these bolts were really, one of them had to cut off and drill out, and a nightmare to undo them bolts are. Some people say that when you've had the heads machined, sometimes you've got to file out the water bridge holes or whatever, but I think they'd have to have a lot machined off to need to do that, because the holes are fairly elongated. Not elongated, but they're not bang on 8mm. You know, there's a bit of wiggle or whatever in each hole. So basically, I put the new seal on, the new rubber seal down there that goes on the sort of groove in the bottom. That was a bugger to get out, to like pick this up, the whole engine up with this to get that out originally, but just like a rubber seal that goes on there and then just pushes in there. I just put a bit of WD-40 on it just to give it a bit of, so it would compress in without tearing it or rolling, and just sort of wiggled that down and put these gaskets on and got the bolts in fine. Seemed to bolt down fine and tighten up, so I did that. Also did the oil filler. That all sort of went fine. Also, I tightened this one up. There was new copper washers in the gasket set for that, the one that goes either side. So I just tightened that one on because that was floating about and that's not going to move. I've put some tape over these breathers. Can't remember where they go, which ones they are now, but I'm sure I've got it on my pictures, or I can find out which ones it is. The wiring sort of fixed in. I remember now that loop sort of goes onto that cam, so that cam backing plate there. That loop sort of goes onto there with the earths onto the head, and then that holds your loom, and then that is your whatever pin it is, 8-pin or whatever connector. Then your main live to goes onto your engine. All these are sort of colour coded. I have got photos of all this where they all go, so they're all different colours, so it shouldn't be a problem. I'm pretty sure that one goes to there, and those two go on there. Which way round the wires go, I think it does matter. Yeah, that one's got a yellow stripe on, that one hasn't. But I have got photos of that. The same with this one. I've got photos of it before I took the connector off, so I can work out which way. Looking at the way it's bent, I'm pretty sure it goes that way, because that sort of goes flat on the manifold and that wire is sort of fixed in that position, so I'm pretty sure it goes that way, but I shall check that out later. One thing I did find is, you can see that new bolt down there just in front of my finger that's wiggling now. That's a bolt that holds this top half of the metering head together to the bottom. That was just like a gunked up hole. I don't know if it goes all the way through, but I sort of cleaned it out and put a bolt in it, it's tightened up. I'm assuming it's just got left out. They forgot to put that bolt in, or struggled to get it in. I imagine it doesn't go all the way into the air chamber, otherwise it wouldn't run properly, but I've just put another bolt in that. So yeah, nothing much else been a problem. I'm going to just check the tightness on all of these before it goes, because I've been wiggling these pipes about a bit. But yeah, so that's all gone together quite well. I did put these caps back in. I did have these caps out a bit ago, and just put plenty of oil again around the camshafts and squeeze it in now they're bolted on. Give a bit more oil in there to help it sort of get round. But yeah, nothing major cropping up. I think that's the one. I think that's the one that goes on the front of the Spider, if I remember rightly. Can't remember what that one goes on, but I'm sure it'll become apparent. Put the distributor in. Just set the distributor at number 1 pretty much and pushed it in, but I already have marked the casing, and so the number 1 mark is sort of here and the rotor sort of falls here. If I set it at the one after it, it's too far up here. I set it to the one before, it's after the top dead centre mark, so I'm assuming, because it falls sort of there, if I set it at that one, because it falls there, it can only go in the teeth on the cog at the bottom. because it falls there, that's just before top, well, a bit before top dead centre, and I think that's how it's meant to be timed. Obviously you can move the outer bit of the distributor, so if that was at top dead centre and it's been moved back a bit, that's how you would do it. So it's firing before it gets to the top dead centre point, which is, it's normally before top dead centre. So I think I put that in right. I just marked it just to, what I should have done really is put the engine at top dead centre when I pulled the distributor out, and mark that and mark that. But I didn't do that. I was in a sort of a bit of a, I'm going to get this engine apart sort of scenario. This pipe's just the big one that goes across to that sort of slightly rusty pipe that was sticking out before that I showed you. These covers can't go on yet until I finish the cam belt. I'm not going to put that pipe on yet. The sort of return breather pipe, well, the breather pipe up from the sump. Not going to put that on yet either, just because it might affect me getting the cam belt sorted, the covers on the cam belt, etc. All the wiring's pretty straightforward. There's this bungled up bit of wiring here. That's sort of like taped up, well, sort of cable tied up, and I don't know where it goes to. I can't remember where it goes, but if it doesn't need to be that long, and I can work out where it goes, I'm going to shorten it, because any kind of bit of wiring like that is just asking for trouble. There's the infamous green wire that people always talk about that gives you trouble, but it's like a condenser wire, I suppose. It must be the contact wire to give it the signal to fire, I'm imagining. Yeah, it must do. Must be like when it goes, sends a signal. So, but that's got its own plug on, which goes to the front. Like I say, that connector's really clean and nice, so I'm not even going to take that apart. I'm not going to mess with that. That is okay. I think the tape's just peeled off a bit, but I have had that off already and checked it. But yeah, all in all, gone together pretty well. I think next is get the sort of top of probably the middle bit of the spider on first, and connect these up, and then put the feet on afterwards. Like I said, I'm going to leave, I think, these 2 feet off, well, these 2 feet loose. So then when you come to disconnecting the cables, etc., you can connect all the cables and then just bolt them 2 on at the end. Got to sort of sort out these clips are sort of moved about. But yeah, you can bend these about a little bit anyway. But yeah, so with a prevailing wind, next session I have on it, I should get all the top off back together. When that boot comes, I can finish a cam belt. Just looking at what I've got left in my box. It's got that bottom cover to put on when the cam belts. There's a spider bit there. Front pulleys to put on. Obviously, when I've done the cam belt, I can put the power steering pump on, and all the belts and stuff except the viscous fan belt. I've got to tighten this bottom pulley up when I'm done. As far as locking it up, obviously I believe with a manual one, you lock it in the starter ring gear, but my starter ring gear is still on the car. But I think what I'm probably going to do is use these bolts, put something in there and in there, you know, so use these studs to sort of lock it up, and a bar across or something like that. If I put studding in there and then bolt it to that and do it in a couple of places, that's just the same as locking it with a flower ring. You ain't going to distort this, and if I'm working off these big bolts, I ain't going to have a problem, I don't think. I think that's the way I'm going to do it. The only other way to do it is to take the ring gear off the car, which I don't know if you can. I probably can. Take the ring gear off, bolt the ring gear to it. But even then, I've got no bell. I'd have to bolt the bell housing on, then bolt the tool in to lock it and whatever. I want to torque it up before I put it in. I don't want to do it in. But yeah, it's only 210 foot-pounds, which ain't a vast amount. I'll check the torque anyway, but the VW stuff I do is 200 and I think that's 218, something stupid like that. And to be fair, it's not. I do them on a bench and just hold the engine and pull it with my arms, and I can torque them up. So it's not horrendously tight. It didn't take much taking off. These little, I don't know if you call them trunnions or whatever you call them, so the rubber bits that this sits on, They were all knackered on this. They were all. It was just sitting on the rubber, and they detached and they were moving about. Bought these off eBay. I just got a rough measurement to the right size, and they look pretty good. It's hard to tell with the old ones because the old ones were compressed down a little bit, but these were the closest I can get, and from what I can see, they seem to line up dead well. And I remember the way this sat sort of underneath that pipe. I'm assuming that's diagnostic. I'm assuming. I don't really know, to be fair. So yeah, they were like a couple of quid each, but they seem to do the job and seem to go on nice and sit it where it should sit. I would imagine if they're gone and it vibrates about, it's just going to mean that these pipes, these pipes can work loose because they're only copper washers in them. But like I said, I'm going to check all them anyway. But yeah, all in all, going okay. I still haven't worked out where the mixture screw is on it. Some people were saying it's down here. I don't know what this affair does. It's like sprung loaded, and this pipe sort of pushes into the air cleaner, into the air cleaner, and then into that. I don't quite know what that does, whether that's... I don't understand it. I'm just going to put it back as it was. But people talk about there being an Allen key, but there's not. There's not an Allen key. There's a sort of screw, well, sort of like a stud with a locking nut on there. Whether that's it, and whether it's set at the factory or something like that, I don't quite know. Yeah, see, oh, there we are. There's the Allen key there. Yeah, there seems to be an Allen key there with a spring on. But on the other side, there is 2 Allen keys with screws on as well. You can sort of see there. I'm thinking they're probably to do with adjusting the sensitivity of the flap that flaps up and down. But the one on its own, yeah, that probably is a mixture screw. I'll do some research. Be interested to know what that connector actually is, if anybody knows. I've got to assume it's to plug it into a diagnostic, but it doesn't. I don't know what's electronic in it or what it would sense, but there's nothing plugged onto it. But who knows? I could have bits of other ones that aren't white or whatever. I'm assuming the big one there's the idle screw. But yeah, all going okay. Time to go home now. But yeah, we're not far off now. Getting back together. Obviously they've got all the firing order sort of written on them, but I'm sure this is a firing order there. 1, 3. So basically, from my number 1 point there, I'm pretty sure it goes clockwise. I'll have to check, but if it goes clockwise, then you go number 1. That'd be number 1 lead, number 2 lead, number 1, 3, and whatever, and do the firing order. And you just do it that way round as you put one on at a time. Obviously, they're linked in sides, so I can only get half of them wrong, sort of, on one side. I know which ones go to each side, so it's a case of just moving them around if they're wrong, but they should all go back together as they came off, because I've not took them off the distributor at all. But yeah, not the prettiest, shiniest of engine, but it's a lot cleaner than it was. It was absolutely gunked up with oil, etc. But yeah, like I say, you could polish these up if you wanted to, but the heads have come up okay, but I'm not getting into that, because you could spend days polishing that up, and it's, it's not that kind of car. It's not going to be that kind of car. It's going to be a nice time.